Part 44. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 431. In the Inheritance Space. Now. Duan Dong he pointed to the distance, look. Luo Xia looked forward. I saw that in the vast wasteland in the distance, a series of light gates suddenly rose up. There were some images on each light gate. If you look at the image carefully, you can vaguely see a strong man controlling thousands of golden lights to attack the scene in the distance. You can see other scenes by looking at other images. The inheritors of my Duan Donghe lineage from generation to generation have close combat, long-range attack, weapon refining, and mechanical control, almost covering almost all categories in my hometown. There are 820 entrances in the distance, and you can get different basic inheritances after entering. Choose an entrance and enter to receive the inheritance. At this point, Duan Donghe looked at Luo Xia. Of course, this is just a basic inheritance to verify whether you are suitable for my Duan Donghe lineage. This is just a normal process. I am not worried whether you are qualified. With Luo Xia's understanding, if he is not qualified to obtain the true inheritance of the Duan Donghe lineage, Duan Donghe will really feel that he died well. Start choosing. Duan Donghe looked at Luo Feng. Which one do you choose? Luo Xia looked at the 820 light gates in front of him. In these light gates, various secret methods of cultivation were displayed. He said, I am used to using swords, so I will enter the sword gate. After saying that, he turned into a stream of light and flew into the sword gate. Duan Donghe watched Luo Xia enter the light gate, and his figure slowly dissipated on the spot. In an instant, he returned to the corridor of the Rhino Emperor Bureau. Here, there was a strong man with golden wings on his back and 9 pairs of eyes. Lei Yi, according to the agreement with you, the strong men of the God Eye clan who were attracted have all been killed by me. Duan Donghe said to the strong man indifferently. Thank you, Lord Duan Donghe. The Thunder-Clothes demon god respectfully saluted Duan Donghe to express his gratitude. At the beginning, he lost his best friend because of the God Eye clan, and he was also seriously injured and fell into a desperate situation. Fortunately, he accidentally discovered the tomb ship where Duan Donghe was in the core of the universe ship. At first, the thunderclad demon god also wanted to obtain Duan Donghe's inheritance. But when he learned about the difficulty of Duan Donghe's inheritance, he gave up. As the strongest person in the universe, it was too difficult to obtain Duan Donghe's inheritance. With his qualifications, he would only die halfway. The thunderclad demon god, who had not yet avenged his best friend, naturally did not want to die because of the inheritance. At that time, Duan Donghe's tomb boat was in the core area of the universe boat. That location was extremely dangerous. Even the strongest person in the universe would die. No one would go to that place on weekdays. Even if someone went there. The strength was also at the level of the strongest person in the universe. Such a strong person had been finalized early, and did not meet Duan Donghe's requirements for finding a successor. So Duan Donghe reached an agreement with the thunderclad demon god. He helped the thunderclad demon god to take revenge, and the thunderclad demon god helped him take the tomb boat out of the core area. This is the real reason why Luo Xia and others found the tomb boat in the Xianbing domain. At the same time, congratulations to the Lord for finding an outstanding successor. After thanking Duan Donghe, the thunderclad demon god gave him a sincere flattery. When Duan Donghe heard the thunderclad demon god talking about Luo Xia, he couldn't hold back his expression. The corners of his originally calm mouth slightly raised, and he said, I am very satisfied with Luo Xia. If it weren't for your help, I wouldn't have met him. I have to thank you. Duan Donghe's inheritance was almost cut off by his generation. Now thinking about it, Duan Donghe is very scared. Fortunately, he finally found a highly talented successor. And this successor may carry forward Duan Donghe's inheritance in this generation. Unfortunately, I won't see that day. Duan Dong he sighed. He is already dead. He has been dead for who knows how many reincarnations. What is left here now is just a virtual figure. Lei Yi, you can go now. Take all the treasures left by the God I clan. Thank you, sir. The Lei Yi demon god thanked him excitedly, then collected the treasures dropped by the God I clan on the ground, and then retreated outside along the corridor. On the other side, Rorschach flew into the light gate, and time and space changed immediately. He came to a chaotic world. There was chaotic airflow everywhere. Above his head, it was dark, and only one star was hanging, emitting light, illuminating this world. Wow! It seemed to sense Rorschach's arrival. The stars in the sky suddenly shot down a visible beam of light, which directly enveloped Rorschach. Realizing that the beam of light was not dangerous, Rorschach did not dodge. Core Authority opened the basic inheritance of Core Authority. As this cold voice sounded, a lot of information poured into Rorschach's mind. A very detailed secret knowledge of the sword poured into Rorschach's mind. The mystery of the sword gradually deepened from the level of the Universe Master. Luo Xia can be said to have basically exhausted the mysteries of swordsmanship at this level in the stage of the Lord of the Universe. However, as more and more sword secrets poured into his mind, and they became more and more profound, he gained a deeper understanding of swordsmanship and swordsmanship. It is worthy of being the inheritance of the Duan Donghe lineage. Rorschach praised that the sword secret book was very helpful, but to be honest, it just helped Rorschach expand his thinking and widen the width of his already broad sword road. He did not indulge in those sword secret books. These sword secret books were indeed profound and complicated, but the highest level of swordsmanship was only at the level of the strongest in the universe. The swordsmanship at the level of the strongest in the universe was even slightly worse than the swordsmanship created by Rorschach. Boom! 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 Suddenly, the bright stars in the dark sky suddenly shot out 3 more rays of light. There were huge icebergs in those 3 rays of light. 3 towering icebergs fell from the stars and then fell into the chaotic airflow. Each iceberg was hundreds of millions of kilometers high, crystal clear, like transparent crystal, and in each iceberg, there were faint rays of light like meteors constantly dancing. In the 3 icebergs, countless meteor lights intertwined with each other, naturally forming a beautiful picture. Suddenly, a cold mechanical voice sounded. You have core authority, so you can get 381 secret books left by past masters for reference. You are the first candidate for this inheritance screening, so you can watch the 3 sword mountains. Each sword mountain contains the sword law pattern. The law pattern contains the ultimate power and reveals all the ultimate mysteries. You watch the 3 sword mountains and use the 360 sword secret books as reference to create a new sword method. When your sword method meets the requirements, you will be the new inheritor of the Duan Donghe lineage. After that, the cold mechanical voice fell silent. Luo Xia blinked. Sword Mountain? Create a new sword method based on the sword secret book? This is too easy. Luo Xia bared his teeth, and then a black magic sword appeared in his hand. Since this sword technique was created by borrowing from the inheritance of the Duan Dong River, the next 3 swords will be called the 3 styles of Duan He. Buzz. Clang. Snap. 3 hazy sword lights lit up in the chaos, and the next moment, they were like sparks meeting gasoline. With a whoosh, the chaotic airflow suddenly boiled up, and the sword light broke through the dawn. Boom! The 3 sword mountains were cut in half silently. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 432. In the inheritance corridor, Duan Donghe, who had just sent away the thunderclad demon god, suddenly raised his eyebrows with a surprised expression. So fast? How long has it been? I thought it would take at least hundreds of years. How come he has completed the basic inheritance in less than a day? After venting his doubts, Duan Donghe shook his head and laughed to himself. Yes, this is an unparalleled genius who has solved all the Rhino King bureaus. With his understanding, one day's understanding is enough to complete the basic inheritance. I still underestimated him. After saying this, Duan Donghe's figure disappeared. When he appeared again, he had come to Luo Xia. Master Duan Donghe. Luo Xia saluted. Duan Donghe looked at Luo Xia with a smile on his face. Not bad, faster than I expected. Don't call me master now, just call me teacher. From now on, I will be your guide. Teacher Duan Donghe. Luo Xia immediately changed his words. Let's go, follow me to receive the core inheritance. Duan Donghe laughed and took Luo Xia to fly into another space channel that suddenly appeared. Entering the space channel, Luo Xia and Duan Donghe returned to the space where 820 light gates appeared before. Now that Luo Xia has completed the basic inheritance, the light gates representing 820 basic inheritances have disappeared. Duan Donghe said, this inheritance space is where the Duan Donghe of all generations received inheritance. It is a real exotic treasure, extremely precious, much rarer than your so-called strongest treasures. In terms of specialness, it is much more special and powerful than some small universes. It contains a large number of independent planes. I only need to think about it to form 820 channels to connect the independent planes of the 820 basic inheritances. After the introduction, he waved his hand and took Luo Xia directly into the depths of the inheritance space. Luo Xia felt the change of space. In an instant, he and Duan Donghe came to the top of a mountain. Endless clouds and mist flowed, and they seemed to be standing on an isolated island in a sea of white clouds. This is the highest peak of the inheritance space. Look over there. Duan Donghe reminded Luo Xia. Luo Xia looked in the direction he pointed, and saw a towering statue standing not far away. It was obviously a dead object, but Luo Xia felt a special transcendent power. This is the third generation ancestor of my Duan Donghe lineage. Looking at the statue, Duan Donghe's eyes were full of admiration. My name is Duan Donghe Jui Shen Wang. After a pause, Duan Donghe looked at Luo Xia again and reintroduced his identity. I am the 192nd generation inheritor, named Duan Donghe Zhenken Wu. Luo Xia showed a puzzled expression at the right time. Duan Donghe smiled slightly and continued. And your future name will be Duan Donghe Luo Xia. Every Duan Donghe has the same name, only the suffix will change. Before I became the 192nd generation Duan Donghe, I was called Zhenkan. Luo Xia cooperated and showed a look of realization. The third generation ancestor. He is the greatest existence in my Duan Donghe lineage. Although the first generation ancestor is powerful, he can only be regarded as a super strong person in my civilization. The second generation is also, but the third generation ancestor is truly amazing. He really spread the reputation of my Duan Donghe lineage, and he himself is at the top of the real peak. Don't tell me that you are the strongest in the universe. In my hometown, that's a big joke. Duan Donghe shook his head. You're so-called strongest in the universe. In my hometown, they should be called true gods. The Immortals, universe masters, and masters of the universe before the true gods are the same as in my hometown. The true gods, in my hometown, are just a door to the super strong threshold. Although he is considered a strong man, he is far from the real peak. Even I am far from that level. The third generation ancestor is truly at the peak. Respected by countless strong men, he was recognized as qualified to add the word holy after his name. And when he stood at the peak, he even added the word king, the king among the saints, the real peak. And I am still far from being admired by countless strong men and getting the word holy. I just barely got the word Wu added. Luo Xia nodded, secretly guessing in his heart that this third generation ancestor of Duan Donghe might be a god king level existence, and he is the most powerful one among the god kings, otherwise how dare he have both holy and king in his name? It's just. Even the God King level existence is going to fall. This origin continent is really dangerous and terrible. Obviously on the origin continent, the strongest should be the God King level existence. After all, the Hunyuan life that surpasses the God King has already transcended. Like UN. But over the endless years, some God Kings have fallen from time to time. Star God King, Zoshank, and now the third generation ancestor of Duan Donghe. Luoxia. Duan Donghe suddenly looked at Luoxia, his eyes sparkling. Your talent and understanding are the highest I have ever seen. In my time, no one can compare with you. I think that if you grow up in the future, you can definitely reach the height of the third generation ancestor, or even surpass it. Teacher Duan Donghe. This is my expectation for you. After endless reincarnations, I can still find a successor like you. I really have no regrets and can rest assured. Now, come, kneel down to the third generation ancestor, and then you will be the 193rd generation successor. Yes. Luoxia nodded, walked to the cushion specially used for kneeling, knelt down and kowtowed. When his head touched the rock, the cushion suddenly burst into black light and merged into Luoxia's body. At the same time, the statue of the third generation ancestor also burst into white light, shining on Luoxia's body. In an instant, severe pain spread throughout Luoxia's inheritance. He groaned and withstood the horrible pain. Compared with the pressure of the original universe, he could still bear this little pain. You didn't scream. Duan Donghe was a little surprised. When he accepted the inheritance, he screamed very loudly and almost fainted from the pain. Fortunately, he held on in the end. He watched the scene silently, and soon, a relieved smile appeared on his face. This seemingly simple kneeling was actually the most important step in the inheritance of the entire Duan Donghe lineage. As the black light and white light continued to merge into Luoxia's body, a strange inheritance mark began to form. Seeing this inheritance mark, Duan Donghe's whole body trembled slightly, and he said silently in his heart. Duan Donghe Luoxia, from this moment on, you are Duan Donghe. Soon after, a black and white mark appeared above the mark of the star god tree between Luoxia's eyebrows. This inheritance mark disappeared soon after it appeared and could no longer be observed. Teacher Duan Donghe. Luoxia saluted Duan Donghe. Is it done like this? Well, it's not done yet, but after having this inheritance mark, you can fit in with the entire inheritance space and control this piece of inheritance space. Duan Donghe replied. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 433. Although I died, I left behind a virtual consciousness. Duan Donghe looked at Luoxia. Using my real thought, memory, and personality as a template, I created a virtual consciousness. In this way, I can wait slowly until the successors accept the inheritance. I can leave the virtual consciousness. This is also the inheritance space. One of the means. Speaking of this, Duan Donghe smiled. The inheritance space has many functions. It is a treasure created by the 3 generations of ancestors specifically for inheritance. You will know about the many other functions in the future. My virtual consciousness controls this inheritance space, and you cannot recognize the owner for the time being. I must voluntarily give up control before you can recognize your master. Search Tkan on Google. Before you recognize the Lord, you must do one thing. Duan Donghe looked at Luoxia. Luoxia said respectfully, Teacher, please speak. Swear. Duan Donghe's expression suddenly became extremely solemn. Follow me and learn. Rorschach nodded and listened carefully. Duan Donghe said solemnly and slowly. I swear in the name of the new Duan Dong He, as evidenced by the inheritance mark, I, Duan Dong He, Luoxia, will never pass on the core inheritance of Duan Dong He. If I violate this oath, I wish my soul to be annihilated. Must. Luoxia looked at Duan Dong He and grinned. This oath is not taken casually. According to the tradition, if it is taken and then broken, the soul will really be annihilated. Must Duan Dong He nodded solemnly, otherwise you must die, and I will choose another successor. This fall does not mean that Luoxia's current body has fallen, but that his soul has also fallen. Because he inherited the mark and it has been integrated into his soul. Even if Rorschach dies now, his soul mark will follow him after he is reborn. Rorschach nodded and said directly. I swear in the name of the new Duan Dong He, as evidenced by the inheritance mark, I, Duan Dong He, Luoxia, will never pass on the core inheritance of Duan Dong He. If I violate this oath, I wish my soul to be annihilated. The sound echoed in my ears and in my mind. The mark between my eyebrows lit up, and the sound penetrated into the depths of my soul. If you break this oath, may your soul be annihilated. May the soul be annihilated. May the soul be annihilated. One voice after another kept echoing in the soul. After swearing, Luoxia frowned and looked at Duan Dong He beside him in confusion. Duan Dong He nodded slightly and explained. This inheritance mark will never dissipate. You may be resurrected after death. But even if you are resurrected, you will still carry this inheritance mark with you forever. Once you violate your oath, the inheritance mark will annihilate your soul. Even if you are resurrected, you will also be annihilated again, continuously resurrected and annihilated. Rorschach nodded. Of course, as long as you don't pass on the core inheritance. Duan Dong He nodded, okay, before you accept this inheritance space as your master, I will tell you the most important information, treasures, etc. one by one. Come with me. Duan Dong He pointed into the void, and a space door appeared directly in the void. Duan Dong He and Luoxia flew directly into the space door one after the other. There are endless lakes all around, and in the center is a small island. On the island is an ordinary wooden house, with a pond in front of the wooden house. The Duandong River landed beside the pond. This independent space is the most important one among the many spaces in the inheritance space. Duan Dong He pointed to the top of the pond. You saw it, the three black stones suspended above the water. Rorschach looked over. The pond is not large, but there are three crystal smooth black stones floating above it. This is called the Stone of Memory, also called the Stone of Inheritance. Duan Dong He said, it can store a large amount of memory information. It is very easy to store all the memory information of a super strong person. These three stones can be called the foundation of my Duan Dong He lineage. Duan Dong He said solemnly. Rorschach nodded. Look inside the pond again. Duan Dong He waved his hand, and wow, all the water in the pond flew up instantly, revealing black stones at the bottom of the pond. At a glance, there were probably tens of thousands of them. Look at the endless ocean again. Duan Dong He waved his hand again. Rumble. The endless ocean around the small island rumbled, the endless sea water began to float, as if the world was reversed, and all the sea water was suspended into the sky. The bottom is empty, revealing trenches, submarine canyons, etc. At a glance, with Rorschach's eyesight, he can see some black stones left in the trench canyons. They are all stones of memory. Duan Dong He said with a smile, these black stones you see are all stones of memory. These three are the foundation, the essence of the core inheritance. Duan Dong He said, his tone was very serious, they are the greatest contribution left by the three generations of ancestors to my Duan Dong He lineage. And there are a total of 12,002 memory stones in the pond, which are also part of the core inheritance. When Duan Dong He said this, he smiled, but it represents many schools, or close combat, or long-range attack, or refining treasures, or machinery, etc. The skills and cultivation methods contained in them, any one of them is enough to make your universe is crazy. And there are over 100 million memory stones scattered randomly in the endless ocean. Those are all strong men from my Duandonghe line. During my travels, I kept collecting all kinds of information. They are all encompassing. I'm afraid 90% of the information on the basic skills of my hometown civilization has been recorded. Of course, the records are all simple and basic. Yes, just like the basic inheritance you received. When Luoxia heard this, he smiled and bared his teeth. Library? It is simply a super library, or simply a template left by the ancient civilization. Rorschach can then use the billions of memory stones in the endless ocean to copy the ancient civilization where Duandong River is located. These 12,002 memory stones. Duandong, he pointed to the bottom of the pond, this is the pride of the inheritors of all generations and their hard work. Of course, some of it is also collected first-class important cultivation information, which is of immeasurable value. Every memory stone is it's enough to start a war. These three can even cause the superpowers in my hometown to start a war with each other. Remember, the information contained in these 3 and 12,002 pellets must not be spread to outsiders. Duandong, he solemnly asked, as for the ones in the endless ocean, it's up to you. Yes, Rorschach responded. You try to wrap these 3 memory stones with divine power. Duandong, he said, you have the inheritance mark. These 3 memory stones will recognize you and pass on all the inheritance contained in them to you. Rorschach nodded. He divided his divine power. Whoosh! 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 3 invisible divine powers extended and quickly enveloped the 3 black stones. At the moment of contact, the 3 black stones glowed faintly, and ancient and complex patterns appeared on the surface. Then a surging message rushed directly into Rorschach's mind. Tons of information. Overwhelming transmission. With Rorschach's endurance, it took 3 hours for all transmissions to be completed. Duandong, he stood aside and watched with a smile. Luoxia slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were full of thoughtful emotions. These 3 memory stones record the core of the entire Duandonghe lineage. The real essence is the 3 secrets. They are called Broken, East and River respectively. Breaking, the full name of which is breaking, is a very special set of skills that can cause all the energy of the divine body or the physical body to explode rapidly in a short period of time. It also allows the strength to be hundreds of times, 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times stronger in a short period of time. This unique skill, if simplified, is a bit similar to self-destruction. Self-destruction is to make the whole body's power explode instantly. But when you self-destruct, firstly, the energy attacks in all directions, and secondly, once you self-destruct, you will die. Destruction is the core inheritance created by the 3 generations of ancestors, but it is completely different, allowing the strong to control the burning speed. For example, burning the entire divine body within 3 seconds. This burst of power is much stronger than normal, and the battle may end in just 1 second, or it may stop the burning immediately. Moreover, it can control the power more accurately during battle to attack the opponent. So this is a set of heaven-defying skills that can completely kill the enemy beyond a level. East, the full name is Donghua, is a set of escape skills. Once used, it can be transformed into a ray of light. It is incredibly fast and can even easily penetrate layers of space. It is the most powerful method to break the East River. Unbelievable escape skills. River, the full name is Immortal River. The purpose of this unique skill is to avoid death. Like flesh and blood life, the divine body that has become immortal, the Lord of the universe, and the Lord of the universe has begun to be energized. But once you break through and become the strongest person in the universe, you will go back to your roots. To reach the realm of the strongest person in the universe, many clones must be merged into one, and the divine body must be transformed from energy to flesh and blood again. Although real flesh and blood life can still burn part of flesh and blood into energy, it is still flesh and blood in essence. To deal with the Lord of the universe and even the strongest person in the universe, ordinary soul attacks can make the opponent dead, but with the immortal river, once you practice to a certain level, you can completely separate part of the body. For example, if you hide a drop of blood, all the clones of the original deity will be annihilated. But this specially refined drop of blood is safe and sound, and can even quickly absorb energy and take some time to transform into the original form again. This is immortality. Warm reminder, share this website on Facebook. Please move your fingers so that we can continue to operate. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 434. Destruction can unleash super combat power in fierce frontal battles. Dong Hua was extremely unfaithful when he wanted to escape. Even if he really couldn't escape, he could rise again with the river of immortality. 3 Great Secrets. With these 3 great skills, although there is only one Duan Dong He in any generation, almost all of them have risen to become formidable figures. Luo Xia was somewhat inspired by the ideas contained in these 3 secret arts. He looked at Duan Dong He beside him. Although Duan Dong He said it, this core inheritance cannot be leaked. But the secret skill I created based on these 3 secret skills should not belong to the core inheritance of Duan Dong He, right? Because of his extremely heaven-defying understanding, when Luo Xia received the inheritance of the 3 secret arts of Broken, East and River, he had already understood the secrets that surpassed these 3 secret arts based on them. Of course, the secret skill he has created at the moment is just the beginning and has not been truly created, but as long as he is given time, he will soon be able to perfect it. Teacher, if I create a more powerful secret skill based on the 3 major secret arts, will it be regarded as the core inheritance of my Duan He lineage? Luo Xia asked before Duan He dissipated. Duan He was stunned, and created a more powerful secret skill based on the 3 secret skills. He looked at Luo Xia and wanted to laugh a little. This is a terrifying secret skill that has been perfected and passed down by Duan He from generation to generation. Even in the continent of origin, it will be competed by many divine kingdoms, triggering terrible wars. Rorschach actually wants to create a more powerful secret skill based on Broken, East and River? Is this possible? Duan He subconsciously wanted to persuade his disciples of their impracticality. But he suddenly thought that the new Duan He standing in front of him was not an ordinary peerless genius, but a terrifying genius who had solved all the Rhinoceros Emperor's problems. With his understanding, it might be possible to learn on the basis of the 3 great secrets. Go up and create a more powerful secret skill. Thinking of this, Duan He's expression became hesitant. He pondered for a while, then looked at Luo Xia with complicated eyes and said, "If you can really do it, then it will be your personal secret. If you put it into the core inheritance of Duan He, of course it would be best, but if you want to pass it on to others, you have to do it yourself. It's alright, after all, in the final analysis, it's the secret skill you created, even if it is based on the 3 major secret skills, as inspiration." I understand, thank you teacher. Rorschach saluted respectfully. Duan He nodded slightly, with a solemn expression on his face, and said, "Next, you must remember what I say carefully. Your understanding is very high. It is the highest I have ever seen. Even in my time, and in the more distant times, I am afraid that no one's understanding can compare with yours. But the road to becoming a strong person cannot be truly achieved by simply immersing yourself in practice. Any super strong person must go through countless battles and fights to be tempered. For example, if you want to become a true god, which is what you call the strongest person in the universe, you must also go through countless fights and gain countless gains before you can finally break through. Starting from the true god stage and continuing upward, every step is extremely difficult. The so-called strong are those who keep moving forward between life and death but remain standing. Luo Xia also looked solemn and nodded seriously. Duandong, he continued. There are many talented people, and there are also many people with perseverance. Maybe they can achieve some success. But who is truly at the top without a lot of opportunities? It is impossible for a strong person to reach the top by himself. I firmly believe that the three most important secrets of the Donghe lineage are to help you minimize the chance of death in countless life and death battles. Of course, even so, death is still not inevitable. All the inheritors of my Duandonghe line have died long ago, including the 3 generations of ancestors. Duandonghe shook his head and looked at Luo Xia with a loving expression on his face, so you must not be careless. Rorschach nodded. Duandonghe said, as for what you just said, using the 3 secret arts as a basis and inspiration to create a stronger secret skill, I believe it is possible for you to do it. But the road must be taken step by step. These 3 secret arts, because you are suppressed by the will of the original universe, you should only be able to see the cultivation methods at the true God level at the moment, but you should not be able to see the methods in the future. He looked at Rorschach. So your most important task right now is to move forward down to earth and break through to the realm of the strongest person in the universe first. After a pause, he said with emotion. You are following the path of divine power, and your life gene multiplier has now reached more than 90,000 times. This level is already the highest level of divine power recorded by my Duandonghe lineage. Further up, although there is also a legendary route to 100,000 times divine power, it is too difficult. It is just a legend. I have cut off the Donghe line for more than 190 generations, and until now, there is only one. The 2 of them took the divine power route and reached the level of 90,000 times. There is only a higher level of 100,000 times, which is just a legend and has never been achieved. Luo Xia smiled and said, Teacher, I want to give it a try. Want to try? Duandonghe was stunned. Looking at Luo Xia's confident smile, he shook his head slightly and said with a smile, You can indeed give it a try. Although it is a legend, since there are only a few words passed down, it is probably the root of 100,000 times divine power. It is possible to succeed. You have only lived for more than 10 epochs, and you have plenty of time to try. Even if you fail, you can still be the top true God by breaking through with 90,000 times your divine power. Rorschach nodded. If he fails this breakthrough route, he will not have no way out. It's just that, if you can hit a higher level, you should definitely hit it. As for what Duandonghe said just now, due to the suppression of the will of the original universe by the 3 great secrets, it is impossible to view the entire situation. In Luo Xia's case, this is naturally not true. After all, he is the master of the original universe. Therefore, the situation mentioned by Duandonghe does not exist here in Luo Xia. He can see the complete version of the 3 great secrets. And these 3 great secrets are all secrets that point directly to the level of the God King. That's it for breaking through the strongest person in the universe. It's not a difficult thing for you. Duandonghe said, if you can become the strongest person in the universe with 100,000 times of divine power, you can even directly break through reincarnation, but think about it, with your qualifications to obtain the General Chaos Star Iron, even if you don't use 100,000, if you become a true God with twice the power of God, you can also survive reincarnation. Rorschach tried to ask, Teacher, can you tell me about reincarnation? Duandonghe shook his head, I can't say it, or in this cosmic sea, I can't say it, let's not talk about this anymore. Come with me, and I will take you to another place in the inheritance space. He pointed at the sea water in front of him, causing ripples to form an entrance to space. Luo Xia followed Duandonghe and flew into the ripple-like space entrance. This is a seemingly endless vast world, surrounded by endless darkness, and beneath our feet is a piece of land, only a dozen kilometers in diameter. provide you with a reading experience with no wrong chapters and no out-of-order chapters. This book was first published by Sidhu. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 435. This is a time-accelerated space. Duan Dong He pointed to the endless darkness in the distance. The seemingly endless darkness is actually false. The space for time acceleration is very small, only within the scope of this piece of land. The smaller the range, the less energy is consumed to accelerate time. Duan Dong He smiled, I have already died, and my control alone can only accelerate its time 10,000 times. As for you, the stronger your divine power is, the faster it will naturally accelerate time when you control it. With the acceleration of time, only the cultivation time can be lengthened. Duan Dong He waved his hand. A black stone floated in front of Rorschach. Originally, I was lonely in the endless reincarnation era. I have many, many words, many requests, and many prides about my Duan Dong He lineage that I want to tell you. Duan Dong He slowly shook his head, but when you accepted the 3 secrets, I suddenly realized, in fact, I have already died, so why should I be reluctant to let go? So I recorded everything in this memory stone. This memory stone will record everything I want to tell you, as well as all the mysteries of the entire inheritance space. You see, you know everything. Duan Dong He immediately raised his head and looked at the boundless darkness, squatted down, gently grabbed the soil on the land, smelled it gently, and then smiled, I have died long ago, and now I am just a virtual consciousness. Virtual, just virtual. I am not alive. Wow. Duan Dong He was completely shattered into pieces and then dissipated directly. Luo Xia had already expected it, but when he suddenly saw Duan Dong He disappear, he felt a little disappointed. Without transcendence, there can be no true eternity. With emotion, suddenly. Boom. Wisps of light emerged from the endless darkness and quickly enveloped Rorschach. He looked up at the sky, and saw wisps of black and white light coming. There was nowhere to hide, and they gathered directly. The inheritance mark on Rorschach's eyebrows appeared automatically. The black and white marks rotated, and endless light poured into the body. Soon after, everything returned to calm. An incomparable feeling of intimacy grew in my heart. Luo Xia looked around, and his mind moved. Suddenly, a sapling began to appear on the land. It grew out of the ground, became more and more lush, and even spread to the surroundings. In just a moment, the sapling grew into a towering tree thousands of meters tall. The inheritance space has its owner. Now he can control and dominate the entire space by himself. The predecessor Duan Dong He has disappeared forever. In this cosmic sea, he, the 193rd Duan Dong He, was the only one left. After feeling sad for Duan Dong He's disappearance for a while, Luo Xia wrapped his divine power around the memory stone to obtain the information left by Duan Dong He. In the message he left behind, he told Rorschach many functions and points of attention in the inheritance space, and also told Rorschach about his transformation of the tomb boat, and even about the control core of the tomb boat. We will tell you where and how to control it. In addition to the information about the tomb boat, there is also detailed information about the inheritance space. According to the information left by Duan Dong He, 95% of the functions and inheritance of this inheritance space are the achievements of the 3 generations of ancestors, and the other 5% are some functions added by successive generations of inheritors. In the entire inheritance space, there are many independent spaces. These independent spaces are divided into categories and have various functions. There is a space like a library. Almost all the most basic skills of ancient civilizations have been recorded, and there are countless precious experiences that lead directly to the highest peak, the experiences of inheritors of past generations, and their collection of countless precious messages. There is a space dedicated to trial combat, a small virtual space that is very similar to the killing fields in the virtual universe. There are opponents one by one, with a total of 282 opponents. Among them is the Duandonghe of the past. Consciousness can enter the virtual space. When fighting against them, those virtual opponents can display the power of those super strong ones. The most powerful opponent is the third-generation ancestor. There is a space dedicated to creating secret techniques. There is a space dedicated to cultivating your own weapons. There is a dedicated space for meditation. In short, the entire inheritance space is a place where inheritors of each generation continue to supplement and perfect it to the extreme, a place to cultivate strong people. According to Rorschach's current understanding, this kind of inheritance space is a very luxurious behavior for all the forces in the current cosmic sea. In the universe sea, some of the inheritances that resulted in bloody battles, especially the so-called joint attack method of the God Eye clan, are just part of a very common branch of ancient civilization. About every detail, even soul attacks, illusions, refining multi-treasures, manufacturing control machines, there are simply countless. I have to summarize these non-core inheritance knowledge and take it back to my human race for use. Rorschach murmured and began to return to the original inheritance space, absorbing various memory stones and remembering them. While sorting out various information from ancient civilizations, Rorschach is also creating better secrets based on that ancient knowledge. It was not difficult for Rorschach to receive hundreds of millions of memory stones, and there was still room for time acceleration to help, so it only took him 10 days to write down everything about the core inheritance. Then, he spent nearly 20 years to absorb the remaining memory stones. While Rorschach was doing these things, the tomb boat was still suspended in mid-air in the Yanbing domain. Only now the hatch is closed. After Luo Feng was released by Duandonghe, he stayed near the tomb boat, waiting for Luo Xia's return. During these times, he has been perceiving the secret patterns in the abyss space. During this period, many powerful people came to trouble Luo Feng, because Luo Xia had obtained the inheritance. Many forces wanted to use Luo Feng as a hostage to obtain the inheritance of breaking the East River from Luo Xia. However, Rorschach had expected this. When the demon god of Suzhen came to Qingfeng realm, he had been following Luo Feng. With the demon god of Suzhen, Luo Feng, and the Star Tower, the forces that came to cause trouble did not get any good results. The days passed. Another 2,500 years have passed since Rorschach received the inheritance. Virtual Universe, the temple plane of the founder of Great Axe. Luo Feng, the Lord of Chaos City, the founder of Giant Axe, and others all gathered here. The founder of the Giant Axe looked at Luo Feng and asked, "More than 2,000 years have passed since Luo Xia received the inheritance. Luo Feng, do you have any news about him? Since the child received the inheritance, there has been no news. I don't know what his current situation is." The Lord of Chaos City said with some worry. Not to mention Giant Axe and the Lord of Chaos City, even Luo Feng was a little worried now. He said, "Founder, teacher, I haven't heard from Xioxia since I came out of the tomb boat. I don't know what his situation is now." The Lord of Chaos City was slightly stunned. Has he never entered the virtual universe to contact you on weekdays? Luo Feng shook his head. "Yes, he didn't contact me, and I didn't dare to contact him. He has experienced the inheritance of Star Tower and knows that this kind of inheritance is very dangerous. So Luo Xia didn't come to contact him, and he didn't dare to go to Luo Xia, fearing that because of him, it would affect Luo Xia's acceptance of the inheritance." At this moment, a call request suddenly appeared in front of Luo Feng. He was slightly startled and looked at the name, "Third Brother." "It's Xioxia. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 436. Xiao Xia, you're out. After answering the phone, Luo Feng asked excitedly. On the virtual screen, Luo Xia's expression was somewhat amusing. Brother, what are you talking about? What do you mean I'm out? It makes me feel like I'm going to jail, but I have indeed accepted the inheritance of Duan Donghe. After a pause, Luo Xia asked, where are you now? Luo Feng looked at the Chaos City Lord and the founder of the giant axe next to him, and said, my teacher and I are here with the founder of the giant axe. Okay, then I'll go over now and just in time to hand over some of the inheritance to the tribe, Luo Xia said. The next moment, he teleported directly. Luo Xia, dressed in casual clothes on earth, suddenly appeared. He looked very ordinary, but his temperament made everyone present look at him sideways. Compared to his elder brother Luo Feng, who gradually fell in love with robes, Luo Xia has always loved all kinds of modern clothes on earth, from casual clothes to suits, or clothes from various dynasties in ancient China. He likes them all. Luo Xia walked towards the crowd. He has a slender figure and delicate features. The black shirt fits tightly to his body, highlighting his slender torso and upright spine, and his light steps are like flowing clouds and water. His black hair is slightly glowing with green light, like stars in the night sky embellishing his handsome face. He exudes a friendly atmosphere, but also looks noble and cold. He has both modern fashion and a simple and heavy bookish air. Luo, the founder of the giant axe, just started to speak, and suddenly frowned, observing Luo Xia carefully. The Lord of Chaos looked at Luo Xia, and his expression was also slightly startled. What realm are they in? They can see at a glance, Luo Xia in front of them has changed too much. At this time, Luo Xia's entire life level has a strange change, and an inexplicable simple and heavy temperament emanates from the depths of his soul. Luo Xia saw the stunned people and smiled. Of course, he is very clear about the change in his temperament now. In these 2,600 years, he has memorized most of the knowledge of an ancient civilization. If you say it in a more childish way, Rorschach's mind is filled with a powerful ancient civilization, and he carries a civilization in his body. In this way, how can his temperament not change? I almost thought I saw the original ancestor. The founder of the giant axe turned his head and looked at the Lord of Chaos City, smiling. The Lord of Chaos City smiled and nodded, I have the same feeling. Founder, teacher, please don't make fun of me, Rorschach said with a smile. At this time, the original ancestor also appeared abruptly. This is the virtual universe, and the original ancestor is the founder of the virtual universe. In it, he can reach wherever he wants to go instantly. Just like Luo Xia in the original universe. Luo Xia's current combat power is much stronger than mine, the original ancestor said with a smile, then looked at Luo Xia and asked, how is it? Can the inheritance of Duan Donghe guarantee the transcendence of our human race? Luo Xia said confidently, even without the inheritance of Duan Donghe, I can still transcend. Now that I have obtained the inheritance, it is naturally better. I have sorted out all the information in the inheritance of Duan Donghe that does not involve the core inheritance, and I will send it to you later. Because the information is too huge, even if Luo Xia has sorted it out, it will take at least 1 or 2 years to completely transmit the information. Good. 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 The Lord of Chaos laughed when he heard it. Although it is not the core inheritance, they are not greedy people. They know that when Luo Xia obtains the inheritance, there must be restrictions, and it is impossible to pass the core inheritance to others. But even if it is not the core inheritance, the other inheritances of the Duan Donghe lineage are enough for the prosperity and strength of the human race. The founder of the giant axe and the original ancestor laughed. After a while, they stopped smiling, and the Lord of Chaos City asked, Rorschach, do you know how to break through the reincarnation now? Rorschach nodded. For other people, because of the suppression of the original universe will, they could not tell the key information of breaking through the reincarnation, but for Rorschach now, the original universe will could not suppress him. The so-called reincarnation is not as dangerous and difficult as everyone imagines, Rorschach said. The founder of the giant axe and the original ancestor looked at each other and were surprised. No danger and difficulty, the Lord of Chaos City stretched his neck slightly, looking at Rorschach in confusion and surprise, waiting for his answer. For endless years, all the strong men in the universe knew how difficult it was to break through the reincarnation. Until now, only the ancestors of the two holy places have succeeded. How come in Rorschach's mouth, this reincarnation is still a matter without danger and difficulty? As long as your strength exceeds that of the strongest person in the universe, you can break through the cycle of reincarnation, Luoxia began to explain. Above the strongest person in the universe, there are the realms of the Void God and the Eternal God. The Void God, the Eternal God. The Lord of Chaos City was stunned. The founder of the Great Axe and the original ancestor were thoughtful. Especially the original ancestor, with his current strength, he has actually vaguely touched the realm of the Void God, but he has never received the inheritance and does not know much about the realm above the strongest person in the universe. And the so-called breaking through the cycle of reincarnation is actually entering a higher level world through the reincarnation channel. That world, because of the supreme will, I can't say it now, but from the information I have obtained, that world is extremely powerful, and the strongest person in the universe can only be regarded as the most ordinary strong person in that place. The strongest person in the universe is just the most ordinary strong person? Luo Feng opened his mouth slightly when he heard this. What kind of world is that? The strongest person in the universe is already extremely powerful in the universe C, and is in existence standing at the top. But such a strong person, in the world mentioned by his brother, is just the most ordinary strong person? Luoxia, the supreme will you mentioned. The original ancestor wanted to ask, but as soon as he said this term, an inexplicable pressure and fear descended, and then the original ancestor closed his mouth. Luoxia looked at Yuanziu and immediately noticed his abnormality, saying, Yuanziu, you are not me, don't say that name casually, anyway, you just need to know that there is such an existence. In general, what everyone calls reincarnation is actually entering the world I mentioned through the reincarnation channel. Of course, it is not an easy thing to pass through the reincarnation channel safely. Why do people think it is difficult to break through reincarnation? Because there are restrictions and requirements when entering the reincarnation channel. If the soul is too weak, the soul will be annihilated when passing through the reincarnation channel. Only those who have reached the requirements of soul strength and can resist the pressure of the reincarnation channel can pass safely. As he finished explaining, Yuanziu and the others suddenly understood. Yuanziu showed a bitter smile, so this is the truth of reincarnation. Back then, he thought that breaking through reincarnation was a conspiracy of the original universe, so he boldly challenged the original universe, but was suppressed by the will of the original universe. Later, Luoxia enslaved the original universe and was released. It was not until now that he learned the truth about reincarnation from Rorschach that the original ancestor suddenly realized how ridiculous his conspiracy was. Provide you with a reading experience without wrong chapters or disordered chapters. This book was first published on Sidhu. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 437. In that vast, mysterious, and profound universe, endless stars are embedded in the vast dark curtain like bright gems, emitting bright or dark light. At the temple of the founder of the Great Axe, Rorschach stood quietly under this peaceful starry sky. The stars around him seemed to be listening to his voice silently, and seemed to be providing some mysterious enlightenment for his thinking. After telling the original ancestor and the others the truth about reincarnation, Luoxia began to tell them about cultivation. He knew very well that these cultivation matters would play a decisive role in the future development of the human race. They were the key to opening the door to the future glory of the human race. Having obtained the inheritance of Duandong he is like carrying a treasure house full of rare treasures, and now, he needs to share the precious wealth in this treasure house with everyone bit by bit. Before growing up, it is the resources of the human race that help him rise. And now, it's time to give back to the clan. Luoxia began to talk about the Duandonghe inheritance, about the cultivation system and methods of immortality to the strongest person in the universe. It is not easy to explain these complex systems and methods clearly, because the amount of information is too huge. It is very difficult to thoroughly explain the cultivation system through oral narration and projection. Rorschach carefully organized his language, trying to explain these profound cultivation knowledge in the most understandable way. His eyes were focused and calm, trying to convey everything he knew without reservation. In this long process, Rorschach spent nearly 100 years. In the past 100 years, he devoted himself almost wholeheartedly to explaining without slacking off at all. He considered every detail and every point over and over again, striving to achieve perfection. Various pictures and scenes constantly emerged in his mind, which were either the key points of cultivation, or the nodes where the Lord of the universe broke through the strongest person in the universe. The original ancestor and the founder of Giant Axe also showed great concentration and enthusiasm while listening to Rorschach's explanation. Their eyes were full of desire and expectation, as if they were a group of students eager for knowledge, eagerly absorbing every bit of knowledge. Now what Rorschach said is so important. Whether it is for the ethnic group or themselves, this information that has been collected and compiled by Duandonghe over the generations is extremely precious. Just like what the departed Duandonghe said. Every word spoken by Rorschach right now, if placed in the cosmic sea, would be enough to start an earth-shattering war. The expressions of the original ancestors were sometimes thoughtful, sometimes enlightened, and every subtle change revealed their importance and understanding of these cultivation knowledge. As time went by, Rorschach finally succeeded in explaining clearly to the original ancestor, the founder of the Giant Axe, and others the training methods and systems of the strongest person in the universe and even the true God of the Void. He also explained to the Lord of Chaos City how to break through from the Lord of the universe to the strongest in the universe. When he saw the surprise and excitement on everyone's faces, Luoxia smiled slightly. He knew that this knowledge would nourish the development of the human race like spring rain. These cultivation systems and methods are undoubtedly crucial to the human race. Rorschach knows very well that if humans want to gain a higher status and a broader space for development in the universe, they must rely on strong strength. And these cultivation methods and systems are the key to improving strength. It's like finding a bright light in the darkness, pointing the way forward for the entire human race. When the human race truly digests the cultivation system he talked about, it is destined to become a powerful force that cannot be ignored in the universe in the future. In the days that followed, the founders of Giant Axe began to spread these cultivation systems and various cultivation methods among the higher UPS of the human race. They know well the importance of this cultivation knowledge from Duandonghe to the human race. It is like a precious treasure that needs to be carefully protected and passed down. Luoxia, on his side, has been in contact with Luofeng since leaving the virtual universe. Brother, you go first into the tomb boat. Next, I will stay in the tomb boat to thoroughly digest the inheritance of Duandonghe. Previously, he had only passed down the memory, but had not yet truly understood it. Next, he will start to learn to digest those huge inheritances, and at the same time, create more powerful secrets based on those inherited secrets. The other forces in the universe have never given up on Duandonghe's inheritance. Ever since Luoxia received the inheritance, they have been sending all kinds of strong men in an attempt to seize Duandonghe's inheritance. Although the demon god Su Zhen is the most powerful person in the universe, he seems to be somewhat powerless in the face of the fierce attacks of many powerful people from the forces of the universe C. Under Luoxia's control, the hatch of the tomb boat slowly opened, and Luo Feng entered the tomb boat again. Xiao Xia. Luo Feng saw Luo Xia in the control room. Are you able to fully control the tomb boat now? Luo Xia nodded. When they first entered the tomb boat, before everyone could find the control core of the tomb boat, they were startled by the sudden appearance of the Duandong River. After figuring out that there was a legacy on the tomb boat, no one will dare to think about the tomb boat anymore. Now that Luo Xia has obtained the inheritance of Duandong he has also inherited the control of the tomb boat. Brother, these should be helpful to you. They are the unique knowledge inheritance about sword techniques collected by Duandong He's lineage. I have compiled them for you to learn from. Luo Xia handed some memory stones to Luo Feng. Luo Feng took them with some excitement and nodded, okay. In the following time, Luo Xia and Luo Feng were in the boat of the tomb, concentrating on receiving the inheritance. Luo Xia put most of his energy on the three unique skills of Duan, Dong, and He. It took less than 3,000 years for Luo Xia to master these three unique skills thoroughly. The underlying logic of the unique skill of Duanmi is very similar to Luo Xia's Fa Tian Xiang Di, both of which instantly burst out to enhance their own strength. In the following time, Luo Xia began to innovate based on the original Duanmi. Soon, more than 2,000 years passed by, and in the inheritance space where time accelerated, Luo Xia's body suddenly appeared with golden secret patterns. These secret patterns are mysterious and complex. As soon as they appear, they immediately attract the chaotic airflow around them. At the same time, Luo Xia's divine body instantly rises, and his breath bursts out. The terrifying divine power is like an ocean tide, annihilating the surrounding time and space. Luo Xia, as majestic as the abyss, stood in a broken space and time, his whole body shrouded in golden light. His eyes were bright. His body moved slightly, and immediately disturbed the more distant space and time. For a moment, it seemed that stars were destroyed because of his unintentional actions, and terrifying energy tides were centered on him, like ripples on the lake, breaking the more distant space and time. You know, this inheritance space is extremely stable. Even the strongest in the universe cannot create cracks in the space and time here, but now, Luo Xia just burst out with divine power and broke this space and time. In the broken space and time, all matter began to return to its origin, forming a vast and endless chaotic airflow. At this moment, the golden secret pattern on Luo Xia's body began to condense into 9 golden halos. These halos surrounded Luo Xia's body. They burst out with terrifying suction, actually absorbing all the chaotic airflows, and then transformed them into vast and endless divine power to nourish Luo Xia's divine body. Boom boom boom. Layers of energy tides burst out. The aura on Luo Xia's body has broken through from the strongest in the universe to the level of the void true God, and then the eternal true God. Of course, his realm still remains at the level of the Lord of the universe. But in terms of divine power, with the help of 9 golden halos, he has instantly risen to the level of the eternal true God. This unique skill is the unique skill that Luo Xia recreated after combining the extinction and the law of heaven and earth for more than 2,000 years. 9 halos, why not call this new unique skill the 9 revolutions mysterious art? With a saluting mood, Luo Xia determined the name of the new unique skill. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 438. 9 Revolutions Mysterious Art was created by Luo Xia based on Duanmi and Fa Tian Xiang Di. Strictly speaking, it is not the core inheritance of Duandong He's lineage, so Luo Xia can teach this unique skill to his elder brother Luo Feng. Luo Feng is still at the level of the universe venerable now, but according to Luo Xia's calculation, when he learns the 9 revolutions mysterious art, he can use the 9 revolutions mysterious art to burst out divine power that is no less than the level of the strongest in the universe in battle. By then, even without the Star Tower, Luo Feng will be able to fight against other strongest in the universe. Luo Xia took the time to teach the 9 revolutions mysterious art to his elder brother Luo Feng, and then continued to study the second unique skill of Duan Donghe's lineage Donghua. Donghua is a unique skill of body movement and speeding up oneself. According to the inheritance, if you can thoroughly learn Donghua, you can have an absolute advantage in battle with Donghua. By then, whether to fight or escape, it will be in your hands. Luo Xia was originally very good at speed. When he was on Earth, he relied on the wind speed field to go up to the sky and into the sea, and there was no opponent. After learning Donghua, Luo Xia also began to innovate. It took more than 2,000 years for Luo Xia to create a new unique skill based on Donghua. This unique skill was named Somersault Cloud by him. One somersault is 108,000 miles, this is the description of the magic of Somersault Cloud in Journey to the West. The somersault cloud created by Luo Xia based on Donghua is naturally stronger than the somersault cloud in the original book. According to his deduction, if he uses somersault cloud in battle, even the strongest person in the universe who is best at speed in the universe C will definitely not be able to catch up with his speed. Of course, somersault cloud was also taught to the eldest brother. When Luo Feng heard the name Luo Xia said, he showed a helpless expression, "You keep holding on to Journey to the West. Who made Monkey King my idol?" Luo Xia smiled, joked with his elder brother for a while, and then went back to continue studying the third unique skill of the Duan Donghe lineage, the Immortal River. According to the saying in the inheritance, after learning this unique skill, as long as you can hide a part of your body, even if there is only one cell, then even if the original body perishes, you can rely on that hidden cell to completely revive. This unique skill is the life-saving trick of the Duan Donghe lineage. If you want to learn this unique skill, it is best to be the strongest person in the universe, because after breaking through to become the strongest person in the universe, the divine body that has been energized will become a physical body again. But this does not prevent Luo Xia from learning and researching. This time, Luo Xia's unique skill based on the Immortal River took a long time. It took more than 3,000 years for him to create a more heaven-defying unique skill inspired by the Immortal River. This unique skill is an enhanced version of the Immortal River. The original Immortal River only hides part of his body. But after Luo Xia's innovation, he can hide part of his body in the long river of time. Unless the enemy can completely wipe out all the timelines of Luo Xia's world, even if Luo Xia himself dies, he can revive with the part of his body hidden in the long river of time. Isn't it a bit bad to call it the law of transmutation? Luo Xia muttered and thought about it. For this new immortal river he created, he decided to name it Incarnation outside the body. Isn't the part of the body hidden in the long river of time the incarnation outside the body? Your name is quite appropriate. After receiving the unique skill from his brother again, Luo Feng said with a smile. Luo Xia asked at this time, "By the way, it's almost an era. How have you mastered the inheritance secrets I gave you?" "Based on the swordsmanship inheritance you gave me, I created a swordsmanship called Fog Light Void," Luo Feng said. "Fog Light Void?" Luo Xia nodded and continued, "I have almost digested the inheritance of the Duan Donghe lineage, and my life genes are almost reaching 100,000 times. I think it's time for us to leave here." Luo Feng said, "It's time to leave. Then let's go. With the tomb boat, we can go to most areas of this universe boat at will," Luo Xia said with a smile. Boom. Under Luo Xia's control, the tomb boat began to move. "Look. The tomb boat is moving. What should we do now?" Near the tomb boat, there are a large number of universe masters and many of the strongest in the universe. They are all sent by various forces to monitor the tomb boat and attempt to seize the inheritance of Duan Donghe. Many of them had fought with Luo Feng before. Fortunately, due to the existence of the Suhan demon god and the Star Tower, these people did not succeed. At this time, they saw the tomb boat moving, and they were all surprised and at a loss. The material of this tomb boat is very special. Even the strongest in the universe cannot destroy it. Now the tomb boat is crossing the void, and they can only watch helplessly, not knowing what to do. Bijan Star-Lord. At this time, Bijan Star-Lord, the strongest in the universe of the East Emperor Holy Land universe, arrived, and the strong men of the East Emperor Holy Land universe saluted. "We can't let the ancestor of reincarnation leave." Seeing the tomb boat crossing the void, the expression on Bijan Star-Lord's face changed. Over the years, the ancestor East Emperor has found Bijan Star-Lord 3 times, and each time he asked Bijan Star-Lord to do everything he can to seize the inheritance of Duandong River. Star-Lord Bijan has visited him many times from his ancestor, and he also knows the importance of the Donghe inheritance to the ancestor. At this time, he remembered the instructions given to him by the ancestor of the East Emperor, and naturally he did not dare to let Luoxia leave just like that. Star-Lord Bijan waved his hand, and a huge black polyhedral sphere appeared immediately. The sphere flew into the sky above the tomb boat and opened a huge hole. "Collected from me." Star-Lord Bijan shouted angrily and activated his most powerful treasure, trying to swallow the tomb boat. However, no matter how much it is swallowed, the tomb boat remains motionless. I saw that the huge tomb boat ignored the North True Star-Lord's swallowing and flew directly into the distance. Star-Lord Bijan's face was extremely gloomy. He had expected this result, but when he saw that his most powerful treasure had returned in vain, he felt angry in his heart. He immediately called out to other strong men in the East Emperor Holy Land universe and shouted, "Block it." As soon as he finished speaking, he took the lead and drove the polyhedral sphere to hit the tomb boat. Boom! It's like Mars hitting the Earth. This huge black sphere directly hit the tomb boat. Boom! The kinetic energy of this black sphere is very terrifying, but the tomb boat only trembled slightly, and all the impact force was removed, as if the collision just now was just an ant hitting the body, and it did not hurt at all. Itch. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 439. Beizhen Star-Lord. In the tomb boat, Luoxia saw Beizhen Star-Lord who was blocking the tomb boat. If it was before, Luoxia and Luo Feng would not recognize this veteran universe strongest who had not been active in the 3 Jedi of the Universe C for a long time. However, after Beizhen Star-Lord received the order from the East Emperor ancestor to send the strong men of the East Emperor Holy Land universe to the tomb boat to receive inheritance, his information was collected by many forces, and the human race naturally collected the information of this strong man. Humph, really don't know how to live or die. It is undeniable that Beizhen Star-Lord is very strong. And because he has the support of the East Emperor ancestor, he has as many as 4 strongest treasures on his body. Unless 3 or 4 universe strongest men join forces, it is difficult to defeat the universe strongest man from the East Emperor Holy Land universe. But in front of Luoxia, looking for death, Luoxia snorted coldly, and the Chaos Star Iron, which was shrunk like a needle, flew out of the tomb boat and shot silently at Beizhen Star-Lord. Ding! Before the Lord of Bijan Star could react, the strongest treasure, the black multifaceted sphere, had already blocked the attack of the Chaos Star Iron. With a ding, the astonishment on the face of the Lord of Bijan Star just appeared and then solidified on his face. Although his treasure blocked it, but if it blocked it, almost at the moment of contact, the defense that was enough to withstand the full force of the strongest person in the universe was like paper, and it was shattered in an instant. With a puff, the Chaos Star Iron shot directly into the true God heart of the Lord of Bijan Star, obliterating his soul. Whoosh! The hatch of the tomb boat opened, and directly took the body of the Lord of Bijan Star and the treasure into it. Then it continued to move forward with a rumble. The other strong men present were stunned. What happened? The Lord of Bijan Star just fell like this. he was a super strong man who was famous in the universe see countless years ago. Just fell like this? The other strong men in the universe of the Eastern Emperor Holy Land all felt absurd. Some could not accept that the Lord of Bajanstar was killed just like that. What happened? Why did the Lord of Bajanstar die? Did the ancestor of reincarnation rely on the tomb boat to kill the Lord of Bajanstar? The tomb boat, is the tomb boat so scary? It actually killed the strongest person in the universe with one strike. This is impossible. Everyone was in doubt, and then looked at the tomb boat flying away in a mighty manner. For a moment, they dared not to step forward to stop it. Report to the ancestor first. In the panic, there were also calm people. Immediately, the Lord of the Universe reacted and used his divine power to report the current situation to the ancestor in the Holy Land. Ancestor, the ancestor of reincarnation, Luoxia, has already driven the tomb boat to leave, but we can't stop him at all. Even the most powerful treasures are useless. Bajan Star Lord was killed by the ancestor of reincarnation with the help of the tomb boat. Ancestor, what should we do now? Bajan is dead. The ancestor of the Eastern Emperor was stunned, then frowned, and asked, is the tomb boat so powerful? Bajan has 4 most powerful treasures on him. Ancestor, this tomb boat has been transformed by Duan Donghe, and it should be more powerful than the tomb boat we got before. We have used all kinds of means just now, whether it is capture, restraint, or soul attack, material attack, all means are useless to mute tomb boat. The ancestor of the Eastern Emperor was numb when he heard this. What should I do? This time he has sent out the strongest team. 10 6th level universe masters cooperated with Bajan, and Bajan Star Master also had several powerful treasures. Originally, according to Dongdi's own deduction, such a team was enough to trap any of the strongest in the universe. However, imagination is always full, and reality is cruel. Dongdi's ancestor never expected that Luoxia would kill Bajan Star Master with a tomb ship. After a slight pause, Dongdi ordered, you continue to follow the ancestor of reincarnation. Now, it is not only our Dongdi Holy Land that wants to inherit the broken East River, but also the Purple Moon Holy Land, the first universe era. You follow and see if there is a chance. The universe masters who received the order looked embarrassed. It depends. They felt that with the hardness of the tomb ship, even if the strong men of the entire universe C came to deal with the tomb ship, it would be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, and it would be impossible to cause any damage to the tomb ship. In this case, let's see, can they find a chance? This is what I thought in my heart. But this was the order of the East Emperor's ancestor, and they, the masters of the universe, could not disobey it. So, they could only follow the tomb boat all the way. Boom! The huge tomb boat was advancing in a mighty and unstoppable manner. Soon, the news that the tomb boat had started spread throughout the universe. It's the tomb boat. The ancestor of reincarnation is driving the tomb boat, and the East Emperor Holy Land didn't catch it? Nor did it stop it? Our chance. Do it? In the outer area, the Purple Moon Holy Land alone could not fully control it, and the anxious forces of the first reincarnation era could not help it. The moment the strongest people in the universe saw the tomb boat, they took action directly. In the air, a series of powerful and terrifying attacks easily distorted and shattered time and space. Some tried to swallow the tomb boat, and some attacked directly to mess up the situation. The more chaotic it is, only those with weaker strength will have the opportunity to fish in troubled waters. Boom! Bang! Wow! The tomb boat trembled again and again. Roar! A huge alien beast with a size exceeding 1 light-year roared over, its scaly wings spread out, its mouth opened, revealing an endless black hole, and it directly bit the tomb boat. Bang! Boom! Boom! Almost instantly, 9 pieces of the most powerful treasures crashed into the giant alien beast, causing the giant alien beast to tremble and collapse. Hateful. The first Allah, the third Allah, the fourth Allah, the fifth Allah, and the sixth Allah of the Divine I clan in the distance all showed angry expressions. This strange beast is their unique fusion skill. Just now they saw the opportunity. The tomb boat was attacked by all parties and some of its flight was out of control. They immediately took action, preparing to swallow the tomb boat in one gulp with the eternal true gods and beasts. Unfortunately, as soon as the eternal true God was formed, attacks from other powerful forces arrived. Idiots of the God I clan, do you also want to take away the inheritors? Dream on. A huge withered skeleton sitting on a white throne in the distance made a hoarse voice. I, the skeleton clan, have been staring at you for a long time. Skeleton clan. The 5 gods of the Divine I clan were extremely angry. The Divine I clan and the skeleton clan, who were born in the first era of reincarnation, were both heaven-defying ethnic groups. When they were still living in the primitive universe, the skeleton clan once traversed the universe and defeated each ethnic group with extremely arrogant power. Then the God I clan rose up. The God I clan rose very quickly, and soon suppressed the skeleton clan, and has continued to suppress the skeleton clan. The 2 ethnic groups fought for nearly 3 reincarnation eras. In the past, the 7 gods joined forces to completely suppress the skeleton clan, but now, 2 people are dead. The skeleton clan is no longer as struggling as before when fighting against the God I clan. Provide you with a reading experience with no wrong chapters and no out-of-order chapters. This book was first published by Sidhu. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 440. What a bunch of lunatics. Luo Feng was frightened by the bite of the supergiant beast just now. But Luo Xia looked calm. He knew the strength of the tomb boat very well. It can be said that the tomb boat transformed by Duandong he needs at least the power of the Void True God to be hurt. Although the combined attack of the God I clan is called Eternal True God, the real combat power is not even at the level of Void True God, and it has only reached the top full strength attack of the strongest in the universe. This kind of attack is impossible to shake the tomb boat. However, other strong men killed the Eternal True God in an instant, which Luo Xia really didn't expect. In just 10 seconds, 16 of the strongest treasures attacked us. Luo Feng was in the control hall of the tomb boat, feeling the attacks of other strong men on the tomb boat, and his expression was not very good. Will most of the strong men from all forces in the universe see come? Boom. Ah. Roar. Various sounds. Whether it was the strongest treasures of the palace, the strongest treasures of the telekinetic weapons, or the strongest treasures of the melee weapons, one after another fell on the tomb boat, which opened Luo Xia and Luo Feng's eyes. The strongest treasures in the entire universe are pitifully few, and they are generally in the hands of the strongest in the universe. Looking at the number of the strongest treasures, it is likely that more than 1/3 of the strongest in the universe have gathered here today. Luo Xia sat firmly in the seat in the control room and said with a smile, "Let them fight. If they want to shake this tomb boat, unless the ancestors of the 2 holy places take action, but they are impossible to appear. This is also the fact. No. It is impossible to shake this tomb boat. The tomb boat has no injuries at all, let alone cracks. It even continues to fly forward, and it can't even stop it. All the strongest in the universe were crazy at first, and then soon discovered the horror of this tomb boat. Everyone's attacks bombarded this tomb boat, and it couldn't cause any damage to it at all. Seeing this, all the major tribes stopped messing with each other. Everyone started to work together, driving all kinds of powerful treasures to bombard the tomb boat. I don't believe that with so many strong people here, we can't catch a tomb boat. Now that the skeleton clan is not messing around, let's get started." A huge, golden 3 fingers appeared out of thin air and directly grabbed the tomb boat. But the tomb boat still flew forward, and it took the huge golden 3 fingers with it. The God I clan attacked again and condensed the eternal true God. As soon as the giant beast appeared, it bit the tomb boat. But the result was still the same. The tomb boat continued to fly, with a powerful flying power. It took the huge beast with it, and it kept growing bigger and expanding while flying. Seeing that the God I clan was defeated again, the strongest people in the universe from other parties became anxious and took action again and again, wanting to use the power of the God I clan to stop the tomb boat together. However, the tomb boat is still flying. Why is the flying power of this tomb boat so strong? Even if it is a palace-type supreme treasure, it can resist attacks from all sides, and at most it will be motionless in the same place. Its flying power is stronger than the binding power of 10 supreme treasures added together. It's useless to join forces. It can't be stopped. All parties understand, the ancestor of reincarnation can completely rely on the tomb boat to fly until he flies out of the universe boat and returns to the original universe. Haha. Luo Feng was in the tomb boat, feeling particularly happy. They can't do anything to us. Luo Xia smiled and nodded. Ancestor of reincarnation. At this moment, a divine power transmission suddenly came to the tomb boat. I am the Lord of Mia, representing the ancestor of the Eastern Emperor, and I want to make a deal with you. The Lord of Mia said in a voice transmission. Trade. The ancestor of the Eastern Emperor. Luo Xia and Luo Feng looked at each other. At the same time, in a distant corner of the Yanbing domain, time and space were distorted, and in this distorted time and space, a green mountain was hidden. The lineage of Duandong He. It lives up to its reputation. The hermit looked at the flying tomb boat from afar, smiling. The tomb boat modified by the previous Duandong He can be so strong, it seems that I was worrying too much. I really want to see the inheritance of the lineage of Duandong He. There should be information about refining treasures in his lineage. After all, this is one of the peak inheritances. I'll ask Luo Xia later. Although it stands to reason that the original universe will suppress those contents, I remember that this child enslaved the original universe a long time ago, and this restriction should have no effect on him. The hermit whispered, and saw that Luo Xia and Luo Feng were safe and sound. He nodded. The green mountain shook slightly, and then disappeared directly, and the distorted time and space quickly returned to calm. In the mausoleum boat, Luo Feng said to Luo Xia. This Dongdi ancestor is the ancestor of the oldest holy land in the entire universe. See. He actually came to you to trade. It seems that the inheritance of the broken Donghe lineage is also very attractive to this transcendent existence. See what they say. Luo Xia smiled, then sent a voice message to the Lord of Mia, asking, what deal do you want to make with me? First of all, congratulations to the ancestor of reincarnation for obtaining the inheritance of the Duandong He lineage. The ancestor of our clan, the East Emperor, said that he needs your inheritance, and the inheritance you will get. Of course, he doesn't need any treasures, just a lot of memory inheritance as the content of the transaction. The Lord of Mia said in a voice transmission. Luo Xia sneered, your ancestors are really good at thinking. Since you are not sincere, let's not talk. No. Wait. Seeing that Luo Xia did not intend to make a deal, the Lord of Mia was anxious. I don't need all the memory inheritance, just some of the memory inheritance will do. Luo Xia said lightly, does your ancestor want the inheritance memory of cultivation experience? The Lord of Mia was secretly surprised and replied, yes. Our ancestor wants to get the inheritance of how to cultivate to a high level. It seems that the situation of the ancestor of the East Emperor in the origin continent is not very good. Luo Xia muttered to himself. If the East Emperor ancestor was doing well in the origin continent, he certainly wouldn't need any advanced cultivation inheritance, but he is now very anxious, so anxious that he sent batches of strong men to seize the inheritance of Duandong He. This shows that although the East Emperor ancestor had passed through the reincarnation and entered the origin continent, he certainly did not get a more profound inheritance on the origin continent. At this time, Luo Feng suddenly said to Luo Xia, "Maybe we can trick the East Emperor ancestor. Our human race has a weak foundation and few treasures. Let's see if we can trick the East Emperor ancestor back with a few powerful treasures. Anyway, you are the only one in this world who knows what the inheritance of Duan Donghe is." Luo Xia nodded and said to the Lord of Mia, "You want to inherit part of the memory, but unfortunately, I am not qualified to leak it." Hearing this, the Lord of Mia was happy and knew that there was a chance. She said in a voice transmission, "Ancestor of the Reincarnation, your Duan Donghe lineage is so ancient that you must have collected the cultivation experience of other powerful people. I think these cultivation experiences should be passed on to others, right? You can trade the experience of Duan Donghe that is not from previous generations with our clan. Provide you with a reading experience without wrong chapters and out of order chapters. This book is first published on Sidhu.